Wandami Bante and Sialis. Good morning, everyone, and good evening to our Dhamma friends in the Western Hemisphere. Welcome to Lesson 9 on Cognitive Processes and the Nature of Mind. I am Cynthia, the meeting co-host who will be helping Bante and everyone in today's session. May we invite Bante to start the teaching, please? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, welcome back to Abhidhamma class. Let's start our today's lesson, paying homage to the Buddha, reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Last week we have studied our study about the 18 ruthless consciousness. Today we are going to study the cognitive process and the nature of mind. This is just the introduction to cognitive process, which is called the Chitta Vitti, so that we could understand when we study 18 ruthless consciousness properly. So this lesson is not teaching about the cognitive process to complete the just introduction. The reason why I introduced cognitive process during the study of the consciousness chapter is to understand the consciousness properly, we need to know how they arise in the process. Okay, let's see today's lesson. This is lesson 9. We have already studied about the unwholesome consciousness and part 1 of the ruthless consciousness. So as we have already studied, there are 4 types of ultimate reality. The consciousness is one of them. So here, today I would like to introduce the discourses of the Buddha, preached by the Buddha himself, about the mind. This is only example. There are so many discourses related to the nature of mind. So here, okay, the first one is, do bhikkhus I do not see even one other thing that changes so quickly as mind. It is not easy to give a simile for how quickly the mind changes. This is the discourse from Anguttara Nikaya. So this shows the speed of consciousness, the speed of mind when it arises. So it is very fastly swift. The frequency of consciousness is very quick. In this discourse, what the Buddha said is, even to give the example is not easy about the speed of mind, how quick. So we cannot imagine how quick. If we can imagine, we can give the example how fast the frequency of the consciousness. So at the beginning, we need to understand the consciousness is conditional. It arises due to the condition, then it vanishes. So arise and vanish. If something has arise and vanish, it has the duration. So The consciousness, duration of consciousness is very short. That's why when arise and vanish in this way, it come in the process. How fast? So according to this discourses of the Anguttara Nikaya, how fast the mind arise and vanish is not easy to give the example. It means too quick, too fast. Too fast means the duration is very short. Even in one moment, in 1 second, it can arise millions of times. So before we study about the cognitive process, which is the process of the consciousness, we need to know the nature first. So consciousness is very fast. It has very short duration. Then the second one, this comes from Dhammavara, is Durangaman, Ekacharan, Asariran, Guhasaya, Yechitan, Sanyamisandi, Mokkhanti, Mara, Bandhana. This is the Dhammavara basis. In this Dhammavara basis, it reveals some natures of consciousness. So Durangaman is wander far, is go far. It means actually this is the example what is wandering far. It does not mean the consciousness is there going around. It takes the objects far from this. It is arising place. So it seems wandering far, but actually the nature of ultimate reality, they don't move from where they arise. So it means where they arise, they vanish. So they are not moving around. But the second one, Ekachara, is more important in this case. So here emphasis Ekachara. Ekachara is conceiving one thought at a time. It means the one thought moment is one consciousness arise. At that time, another consciousness cannot arise. So two thought moment cannot arise at that particular times. So although it's run very fast, it go alone. It arise alone. After vanishing, the present one, the following one can arise. So you can see it, you can imagine about the beats, line of the beats, the counting beat, one after another. It's not going two together in parallel. So in the process, in the same way, the consciousness also running in the process. When one arises, only that group of mentality, you can say the group of mentality, because when consciousness arises, it does not arise alone. It arises with the mental fetter, associated mental fetters, but it never arises with the other consciousness. So consciousness only one time in one moment, but it has accompanied mental fetter. At the same time, they arise together, consciousness, one consciousness, and associated mental fetters. Then, when they are in presence, there cannot be other consciousness arise in one process. In one process means in one person's mind. So after vanishing, after passing away of that group of mentality, another group of mentality can follow. So the preceding one and succeeding one, they are following, they are running in the process. So this This is called the ekacharan, one after another. At the time, only one consciousness arises. So the second one is guhasayan. Guhasayan is lying or sleeping in the cave. So here in this cave, we will understand later about the Hariyawatu. For the second word of guhasayan. Guha refers to Hariyawatu according to the commentary, but in the Pali Canon itself, it just say the guha. Guha is the place, the cave to live in. But it is mentioned in the commentary as a Hariyawatu. But it doesn't matter. It is not emphasized in this lesson. So in this lesson, the nature of mind, as the nature of mind, I would like to mention 2 points. One is the consciousness, the nature of consciousness. It arises and vanishes in very short time, and very fast, so very quickly. And true thought moment cannot arise at that particular times. But you may think, I am watching the screen at the same time I'm hearing. You may think two process of consciousness, seeing and hearing, are arising at the same time. But it is not really in that way. When you see, you don't hear. When you hear, you don't see. So as the frequency of consciousness is very fast, you cannot aware the shifting, seeing to hearing, hearing to seeing. You cannot aware in ordinary mind, in ordinary, or with the ordinary awareness. Okay, anyway, so we can understand consciousness run quickly, and at a time, only one type of consciousness can rise. Okay, so here, this is called the Chitta Niyama. Chitta Niyama, when as the characteristic of the consciousness, Chitta, it recognizes the object, and any object it recognizes. But when it recognizes an object, it needs the door, the sense door. There are 5 sense door here, 5 sense door, and mind door. So altogether, there are 6 door. Through 6 door, the consciousness can aware, can recognize the object, can recognize the object. So this is called the Chitta Niyama. So here in this case, there are 6 types of door, as we all know: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. These are called the 5 sense door, and Manodhara, which is called the mind door. So you can consider yourself. What when you hear, when you see something, it is through the eye. But you can close your eye and you can imagine that image can appear in your mind. It is not seeing. It is thinking or imagination. It is just only in the mind. So through the mind door. So when you open your eye and you see something directly in your physical eye, that is called eye door. It's seeing. It is called seeing. So it's seeing consciousness come through the arise due to the eye doors. So in the same way, hearing consciousness through ear door, the smelling consciousness nose door, and tasting consciousness through tongue door, and knowing the touching or tangible object is through the body door. And the others, including what you have seen or what you have heard in the past, can be appear through the mind door when you reflect on, or sometimes it can appear automatically. So it is through the mind door, Manodhara. So in this case, we can understand there are 6 doors the object can come to the mental process, can touch to the mental process through the sixth door, five sense door and mind door. So five sense door are physical door, and the last one is mental door, mind door. Okay, this is already mentioned in the previous lesson, 7 consciousness elements, Satta Vijnana Dhatu. So I repeat here because I just want to connect with the function. So according to this classification, there are 7 types of consciousness. And the first type of consciousness, Chakku Vijnana Dhatu, eye consciousness, and number 2, types 2 consciousness are called the eye consciousness. And the resultants produced by wholesome, unwholesome, and produced by wholesome. So 2 consciousness, when they arise, but they cannot arise together. When they arise means when one of them arise, it performs the function of seeing, the function of seeing. So we can see only when the eye consciousness arises. We cannot see the hearing consciousness arise. We can just hear because the ear consciousness perform the function of hearing. So seeing, hearing. And the third one, nose consciousness. It performs the function of smelling. So you can get smell only when the nose consciousness arises. In the other way, you can understand when you get smell, the nose consciousness is arising in your mind, mental process. Then the fourth one, Jinwa Vijnana, tongue consciousness perform function of tasting. So when you eat anything, and only when tongue consciousness arises, you can taste, you can know the taste of the food. And although you are eating and your mind is going around, you don't know the taste. If you don't know the taste of the food, the tongue consciousness is not arising. Then the body consciousness, when it arises, it will form the function of touching. Touching means the knowing the touching, aware of the touching. So these are the 5 functions performed by 5 types of consciousness. And the other Manodhatu and Manovijnana Dhatu, they have the different other functions. We will understand the rest functions in the chapter 3, Pakinaka Sangha. So here, in this case, hearing, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching through the door, eye door, ear door, nose door, tongue door, and body door. 5 sense doors and 5 function, 5 consciousness. You can connect each other. So, and we need the other aspect to complete. So now in this slide, just to aware 5 types of consciousness, 5 function, and 5 doors. And the rest is the other 2 elements, 2 types of consciousness, and Manodhara put aside. Then we will continue. Okay. Here's before we continue the consciousness, and I want to talk about the process of mentality. So not only in this slide, it is along the cycle of rebirth. So here, the first one is death moment. So here I said the Chuti. In Pali, it is called Chuti, death consciousness. It is the end of life, the end of life. So this is death consciousness. This is generally description, because the only one is on the exception. One is Asanya Sada Brahma. They don't have any consciousness, so they are exception. It doesn't matter, just for the size. Then their life ends in the death consciousness, and it starts in rebirth. So we can say life starts in rebirth and end in death. It is obvious to all. So that is the end of the present life. So in the same way, that is the end of past life. Here, this is the past life ends. Then as on a, just after just after the end of past life, the present life step. This is the beginning of the present life. So is the rebirth. Then it continue, the present life continue until the death of the present life. So rebirth to death is called the life, present life. In the same way, just after this present life moment, then if there are conditions to be reborn, the next life will start. So rebirth. So we can conclude, we can give a short description about the life, start in rebirth and end in death. So the end of previous life is just before the beginning of this present life. There is no gaps between death and rebirth. Then after rebirth, up to the death, this is called the life, our life. We already start from our rebirth, but until now, we didn't reach to our death, so we are living. After our death, after we die from this life, if we have a condition means to be reborn in any life as any beings, we will have rebirth. Then, okay, let's see how the mental process run in the present life. So here B is Bhavanga, is called life continuum. Life continuum follow to rebirth. Just after rebirth consciousness arise here, arise and vanish. So this is the duration of the rebirth consciousness. Just arise and it has 3 phases. And just after 3 phases, it's gone, it's passed away. No more is it. So then the following one, this is called the Bhavanga. So according to the nature of consciousness, so it is called the Chitta Niyama. According to the nature of consciousness, after rebirth, the rebirth is any of the resultant consciousness. So it is not very strong. It is just resultant. So it is followed by the life continuum. It is also same types, resulting consciousness. Then, according to the nature of the reality, and every beings, when they were born in new life, there arise the attachment to the new life. That is called akusala. So just as soon as we were born, we in our mind, in our mental process, the unwholesome consciousness arise. So attachment to the life. Then it continue in this way, wholesome or unwholesome. Between wholesome process or unwholesome process, there are the bhavanga, which we call the life continuum, arise. So there is the process is running in this way. Sometimes when you encounter any object, you have a right attitude and wise reflection. There will be wholesome consciousness, and unwise reflection or improper attitude. There will be the mental process of unwholesome arise in your mind. So after that, between the process, the bhavanga life continuum will run, and in the process, there are some functional consciousness. So the functional consciousness here, the kriya, so vipaka and kriya, because they are running in their nature. It means that when we see something, the functional consciousness of the panchadwara vachana, so avatin, 5 door avatin consciousness, they are functional, but they are uh, arising according to the nature of mind. So resultant and functional, sometimes the kusala is mean wholesome and akusala it means unwholesome. The process will arise during the lifetime in this way, sometimes wholesome, sometimes unwholesome. Between these two processes, the bhavanga. So in this way, the mental process will run until the last moment of the life, which is called death. Then, if we cannot attain the enlightenment for the highest stage, which is called the arhat level, we will be reborn in new life. So here, the rebirth will start and then follow the bhavanga life continuum. In this way, it will continue like a present life. So this is how the mental process arises in the life. Except the asanyasata. Asanyasata being is only the process of materiality. So it is not included in this process. This is about the process of mentality. So this is just introduction. We will study more and more. Then, so these are the key. You will you can easily understand using this key, because we have to show a lot of many frequencies of mentality. So we cannot write in long, in complete name. So we just give the key, and this is taken from the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma. You can check. So here B is bhavanga and past bhavanga in this way. Then you don't need to understand or memorize all of them at the beginning, but later you will know. Then here, 5 door averting and mind door averting, they are functional consciousness, but they are arising in common life of the different types of beings. But the other functional, so except these two functional, the other functional consciousness arise only in the process of arhat mind. So this 5 door averting and mind door averting tools are exceptions. It arises in ordinary person's mental process and also trained mental process. Okay. So, okay, this is the process with unwholesome jhana. So it's unconsciousness. Because this is unconsciousness, we can understand this come through the eye door. The object, only the object of visible form can enter through the eye door. So when the visible form appear and it is considered as the visible form, the object enter into the mental process through the eye door. So the eye consciousness arise in the mental process. So as I said, between two process, only the process, there will be the life continuum, bhavanga will running. So here, bhavanga, life continuum, is running. Then when the visible form appear and it touched to the iron sensitivity, at that moment, the bhavanga will stop. The bhavanga will be cut off. So before it is cut off completely, it is past bhavanga, vibrational bhavanga, arrest bhavanga, three times arise. But they are also bhavanga. Then F, 5 door abating. Because iron door is included under the 5 sinks door. When the object introduced through I door, the 5-door button arise at the moment. So before we see the 5-door button consciousness arise, then I consciousness arise at the moment of I consciousness. The image or the visible form was captured. Is called the seeing. So this is the seeing consciousness, I consciousness. So this is I consciousness. It makes the function of seeing. As I introduced in the previous slide, the I consciousness performs the function of seeing. So in this moment, it is seeing. Then RC is receiving. After seeing the object, the receiving consciousness arises. And investigation, I is investigation. So then investigation consciousness arises. Then determinant. So determinant consciousness. It performs the making determination. How is determined? The object as it is typed. This means the visible form as visible form. It does not recognize as good or bad or the other aspect. This just make determination about the object as it is. So when the visible form arises, it recognized as visible form. This also a kind of considered a kind of as determination. So in the consciousness types, there is no determining consciousness among the 89, but the consciousness mind or abiding consciousness is in the 18 rootless consciousness. So this performed in this process as a determinant. That's called, it is considered as the determining consciousness. So this is, as you see, the many of the consciousness come from the rootless consciousness, rootless group. So here, 5-door, abiding, I consciousness, receiving, investigating, and then determining, all of them come from the 18 rootless consciousness. So in order to understand how the 18 rootless consciousness arise in the real mental process, we have to understand the cognitive process. So otherwise, it will be very difficult to understand. There's so many questions arising in the mind, why they are called in this way and how they arise, what they perform, what kind of function they perform when they arise at this. So that is why I'm trying to introduce the cognitive process in this study, in this case. So then the process run in the jhana. So there are 7 jhana. So jhana is usually is not translated into English. Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi himself said it is just to keep untranslatable. So, but just to know, just to let the Lana know, he give the translation running swiftly. So jhana is mind movement is run very swiftly. So it does not longer or shorten than the others, but it is considered the running in force, running in force. So running swiftly. So here normally arise 7 times. It arises 7 times normally. Is when the process is given the example, it is always compared with the king who can enjoy the food. So the jhana mind movement seems the enjoyment of the taste of the object. So seeing, when the process of seeing arises, in the other mind movement, the consciousness cannot completely taste uh, to the objects. This is just an example. You cannot you cannot think the consciousness is consuming the object or like this. But to give the example, enjoying at the moment of jhana, the consciousness can fully enjoy the taste of the objects. This is the example given in the process. So if you think it make you more clear, you can consider, and if make you confused, you can put aside, no problem. We will discuss more later in the cognitive process chapter. So here, uh, as the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma is mentioned, the jhana stage is most important from an ethical standpoint. So ethical standpoint, it can be wholesome or unwholesome. So here, not only wholesome and unwholesome, it can be functional too. Functional too. And fruition is the fruition. Fruition is the pala, and functional is kriya. So mostly from the ethical standpoint, it is emphasized on the wholesome and unwholesome. So here I mentioned that unwholesome jhana with unwholesome jhana. So that's why the the mind movement are described in red. It is, you have to be aware that the unwholesome. So from the ethical standpoint, the other movement will be the same, but the jhana process, the jhana movement will be different from the others. Okay, it doesn't matter. You will understand with the comparison of the other slides. Okay, at the moment of jhana, there can be 55 chitta. So here you see the jhana, unwholesome, 12 unwholesome. We already studied 12 unwholesome. So here 21 wholesome, not yet, and 4 fruition and 18 altogether. 55 consciousness can perform the function of jhana. This is the different from the seeing or hearing, like this. So this is another function. From the ethical standpoint, it can originate, it can produce. So when it is, if it is unwholesome, the moment of jhana are regarded as unwholesome, it will produce bad result. If it is wholesome, it will produce good result. If it is functional, it will not produce any result. Okay, so if it has to produce the result, the result, uh, the producing function will be different. The first moment here, the first moment, and the last moment, and the middle 5 moments. So here the first jhana, first moment, being weakness of all, generate immediately effective karma. So put aside being weakest of all. So just to aware, the first jhana movement immediately generate immediately effective karma. So it is called the data dhamma vedaniya. The result can be seen in this life, which produced by the first jhana movement. Then the last jhana movement, being second weakest in this series. Okay, just put aside this. We will understand later. Then the last jhana movement generate subsequently effective karma. So this moment give, it is produced, it is resolved in second life. In second life, that's why it is subsequently effective karma. So the first moment, this life. Second moment in next life. Then the rest 5 5 intermediate jhanas, they generate indefinitely effective karma. So indefinitely means you cannot uh, find out the specific life where it will produce. But because it has the potency to produce any light starting from the third life. So second future existence onward, as long as you have the life, it can produce, it can follow the beings. Then when it has the supporting condition, it will produce. It's both sides and good or bad. So the last one is ripening karma. So that it is already mature, but cannot produce. Cannot produce the result. At that time, it will become the defunct. So it cannot produce anymore. This is the aspects of the jhana. So it's a little bit complicated. Considering about the nature, so jhana running swiftly. Then it can be wholesome or unwholesome, but in the arhat mind, it can be functional, and also it is the fruition. So, but through the indoor consciousness, it cannot be fruition, but it can be wholesome, unwholesome, or functional according to the individual it arises. Then another aspect is the producing the result. It is different potency. The first moment has different potency. The last moment have another different potency, and the intermediate 5 have the different potency. So this is the jhana. Doesn't matter, just introduction. Then the last class is registration. So registration is the followers of the jhana. This is a kind of resultant consciousness. So it's shown in this color. Okay, just to be aware that this jhana movement, unwholesome jhana. So if we go to the second slide, then we can see the same patterns or the same process, because this is all completed 5-door process, Panchadwara Viti, with unwholesome jhana. So show jhana movement are shown in the red. Then only the difference you can find is the moment of I consciousness. The previous slide I said that I consciousness. Instead of I consciousness, it can be ear consciousness. It means that when the visible objects arise and eye sensitivity capture the visible object. At the moment, we will study the essential condition. So if the essential condition complete, the unconsciousness will arise in the mental process. So that is why through the door, eye sensitivity and eye door are the same. So eye sensitivity, visible object coming together at the moment, eye consciousness arise. The function is seeing. That is why you see the object. If the object sound arise, the object or sound arrives, and ear sensitivity capture is through the ear door. At the moment, the second one should be ear. This ear is ear consciousness. So ear consciousness will perform hearing function when it arises, as I said in previous slides. So this one, E refers to ear consciousness. The third one, this E refers to nose consciousness, because the smell arise and nose sensitivity capture. That's why smell enter through the nose door. Then nose consciousness arises, you get smell. Then the fourth one, it refers to the tongue consciousness. So when the taste and tongue sensitivity coming together at that time, you know the taste and tongue consciousness arise. Then the last one, this refers to the body consciousness. So tangible objects and body sensitivity. So through the body door, it comes, the body consciousness arise. But the other moment will be same, will be the same. So the only difference is in case of the fight door consciousness, fight door consciousness, or pancha vinyana. Okay, here you see the same types of jhana moment, jhana consciousness. But here in this slide, the jhana become yellow, and because I want to emphasize the wholesome jhana. So this will be same as the previous slide. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, according to the objects, according to the different object arise. Then here, how the jhana, the consciousness of jhana change unwholesome to wholesome. It's not changing. It arises due to the condition. If you have the ionisomnasikara unwise reflection, the previous slide, the unwholesome consciousness, unwholesome jhana will arise, that will take place. Then if you have the proper attitude or wise reflection, ionisomnasikara, in your mind, then the wholesome jhana will take place through the fight door process, panchadwara, fight door process. Then for the arahat, here the person, the individual changes. In the process of arahat, only the functional jhana arise. The arahat does not have the wholesome or unwholesome. They just see, they just hear, they just get smell, they just taste, and they just know the touch. But they don't have the wholesome or unwholesome. The function is arise, but it does not produce result in next life, because arahat has no next life. They will not be reborn in any place. So this is called the functional. Okay, so this is the difference of the five door process, pancharara viti, according to the jhana, unwholesome, wholesome, and functional. Here I don't mention about the fruition jhana. It will be explained later in the mental process of the cognitive process in the chapter 4. Okay, let's see. We already finished the five door process. Here the mind door process come. So manodwara viti, mind door process. So this also categorized into three according to the jhana. So unwholesome. So here the difference is, instead of F, five door button, it here this become the mind movement becomes the M. So mind door button, because this is the object is come through the mind door. So this is mind door process with unwholesome jhana. So this is jhana movement is same as. So here, sometimes registration comes, sometimes registration does not involve. Here you see the moment also shortened, lesser than the previous pi door process. Then here the wholesome jhana. So unwholesome and wholesome arise in the process of ordinary person or trainees. So Uttojana and Sekha. And Kriya jhana, functional jhana, can arise in the process of arahat. This is the difference. Then because the object come through the mind door. The abiding consciousness is named as the mind door abiding. So in this way, two abiding consciousness are enumerated in 18 rootless consciousness, 5-door abiding consciousness, and mind door abiding consciousness. Then, okay, so let's continue to the essential condition to arise, the unconsciousness, etc. So unconsciousness arises due to the specific condition. Without with the absence of any of these four conditions, unconsciousness cannot arise. So if unconsciousness cannot arise, cannot see, you can understand, you cannot see. Only when unconsciousness arises, you see. So if any of the essential condition absent, you cannot see. Let's see, what are they? Eye sensitivity, which is called chakupasara. Eye sensitivity is inside the eye, physical eye, there is the clear materiality. It can capture visible objects. So like your mirror, in front of mirror, if you stand on, and if the mirror is clear, you can see your appearance in the mirror. If the mirror is covered by anything, dust or something else, it's not clear, you cannot see. In the same way, the clear materiality inside the eye, it can capture the visible object. It is called the eye sensitivity. In the other way, it is also called eye door, because it is similar to the door the visible form enter, through which the visible object enter to the mental process as a condition. Second one is visible object. So the person has the good eyesight, but if there is no visible form, he or she cannot see. So there must be visible object, rupa ramana. So eye sensitivity is also materiality. Visible object also materiality. Coming together in present at the same time, the unconsciousness can arise. But the other condition also need. If there is no light in the dark, even if the visible object is in front of you and you have the eye sensitivity, good eyesight, and if there is no light, the object cannot be seen. It means you cannot see the object. So the light, aloga, also essential condition for unconsciousness. And the last one, even though all three conflict, you have a good eyesight, visible object is there, the light is already on, but if you don't pay attention on that, you will not see. You will not see. So attention, manasikara, is very important. So it involves every here, involved in every condition of all types of consciousness. So attention everywhere. Okay, so to arise unconsciousness, now you understand the four essential conditions. Because this is called the essential condition, there are the other condition also. You will learn the other condition in the patana. So there are many different conditions. They are conditioning in different ways from their own way. They are conditioning to the others. Okay, so for the ear consciousness, we can understand we must have the ear sensitivity, good hearing, and sound. If there is no sound, we cannot hear, and space to come through, the sound come through. So space. If there's no space to come through, we cannot hear. Then attention. Then for the nose consciousness, Kana Basara, nose sensitivity must be good, and smell must be there, and air element to bring the smell, So air element and attention. So for the tongue consciousness, the tongue sensitivity and taste. So if there is no taste, there cannot tongue consciousness arise. Then water elements. It means if there is no water element to soak the taste into the tongues, you cannot get the taste, that attention. Even though you are having your meal, you are thinking about the others, and you cannot get the taste. Then the fifth one, body consciousness, body sensitivity, tangible objects. So Pottavaramna, this is the group of materiality. Then art element. So here this art element and attention. Here in tangible object also include the art element. So two of the art element, just touching is strong. So through the body we can know the touching. Then the mind consciousness. So you can understand 1 to 5. These 5 consciousness come through the 5 sense door, as I introduced in the previous slides. The 5 sense door and mind door. Here the last one says mind consciousness is come through the mind door. So the heartbeat is one of the essential condition, and mental object, Dhamma Ramana, it is the object taken by only mind. It comes through the mind door, not come through the physical 5 door. Then the bhavanga, and the last one, attention. These are the essential conditions. With the absence of any of them, the respective consciousness cannot arise. Then, so here, the number 1 group, eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, nose sensitivity, tongue sensitivity, body sensitivity, and the heart base are considered as the 6 base. What 2? 6 base. We will learn this in the chapter 3. What 2? There are 6 types of what 2: eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, heart base. But about this heart base, there are some arguments, but we will not discuss about that. In this study, later we may discuss. Then here, number 2, here second conditions: the visible object, sound, smell, taste, tangible objects, mental objects. These are in the group of the 6 objects. So this also mentioned in the chapter 3. The presentation of an object is a kind of the condition to arise the consciousness. Without the object, the consciousness will not arise. So visible object, sound, smell, taste, tangible object, and mental objects. These are the second condition. So we can understand based on the 6 base. Is also called the 6 door, and you can call the pasada and hariyawatu. The 6 objects come into touching, come into presence. Then by the support of number 3 group, the light, space, air element, water element, earth element, and bhavanga, if you have attention there, the process of consciousness, the respective process of consciousness will arise in the mental process. Okay, so this is the introduction for the cognitive process and the nature of mind, which can support the understanding of the 18 rootless consciousness, because here in this case Many mind movements are found in the 18 rootless consciousness. So eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue, body consciousness, already we counted in the 18 rootless consciousness. Then receiving consciousness, okay, here. Okay, five door about receiving consciousness, investigation consciousness, and here as a determinant at mind door button consciousness already. And so many names are introduced in the 18 rootless consciousness. So in this lesson, I'd like to introduce how they work in the cognitive process. Okay, today's lesson is that's all. I'm going to stop here and we will continue to Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Bante, for teaching us. May Bante lead us in sharing of merits and making expiration, please.
Imina punya kamina
Imina punya kamena
mami bala samagamo
mame bala samagamo
tadam samagamo hodu
satang samagamo hotu
yawa nibbana patiya
yawa nibbana patiya
idam me punyam
idame punyang
asawakaya waham hodu
asawakayang wahang hotu
idam me punyam
idame punyang
nibbana sapachayo hodu
nibbana sapachayo hotu
mama punya bhagam
mama punya bagang
sabba satanam bhajemi
sabba sattanang bhajemi
te sabbe
te sabbe
me samam
me samang
punya bhagam labandu
punya laban bagang tu sadu sadu sadu. Okay, thank you, Bante and everyone, for your time and participation. Till we meet next week, may all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.